Die Gedanken sind frei.
My thoughts freely flower.
Die Gedanken sind frei.
The purpose of Freethought Forum is to be vigilant to the encroachment of religion into government and to educate.
No hunter can trap them, no person can deny. Die Gedanken sind frei, no person can deny. Die Gedanken sind frei.
Welcome to Freethought Forum. I'm your host, Hugh Henry, and we're here to talk to Mary Louise Thompson about how she became an atheist. Mary Lou was born in Salt Lake City, Utah, a hotbed of Mormonism, on the 12th of May, 1938. She was raised in Salt Lake with a 3-year interruption spent in California. Her dad's parents were both born in Sweden. Her mother's father in England, her mother's mother in Johnstown, Iowa. Mary Lou earned a BFA, Bachelor of Fine Arts, at the University of Utah. She married Ralph Thompson in Tucson, Arizona in 1961, the same year graduated from college. Mary Lou had 2 children and now has 4 grandchildren. So, Mary Lou, let's talk about how you became an atheist.
Well, I didn't start out that way. My grandfather was a minister in the Episcopal Church, and he married my parents and he baptized my sister and myself. And I was a very good Episcopalian and Christian up until I got into college, and even into college I was. And it wasn't anything I learned in college that turned me away from Christianity and religion. In fact, the head of the philosophy department was apparently a good Mormon, because when I asked a question in class about the terrace along the foothills of the Wasatch Mountains that indicates one of the levels of Lake Bonneville, he said it was put there for Adam and Eve to play on. And of course he didn't follow up because he wanted to shut me up. So, the thing that brought me to it was the fact that has bothered theologians ever since Christianity began, why there is evil in the world. Why would a benevolent, powerful God allow all this evil? Now, in the Old Testament, in the Hebrew Bible, there wasn't any Satan. There was an evil one. I don't know if he did much tempting or anything like that, but the Christian needed some explanation for why there was all this evil in the world, and so they invented Satan. Now, of course, in the Hebrew Bible there is Lucifer. Now, it's rather significant that Lucifer means the bearer of light. And of course, Adam and Eve were punished because they wanted knowledge. And people in authority do not want the people under them to have knowledge, because then they ask questions, and that can get the people in authority into trouble. I decided that I didn't want to believe in this stuff anymore. I really believed it. And I was really, really tolerant. I thought it was all right. You know, you could be any religion you like, just so long as you believed in God. And it seemed to me that if this being was all powerful and all loving, why did he let all these awful things happen? And I put it to my daughter, my poor daughter. She wasn't anything. My husband said at one time, "Poor Amy, she thinks she's an atheist." Well, Amy grew up and met this guy who was a very good Catholic, and you know, she fell in love, and you know how love addles the brain. And she turned into a Catholic. And there's nothing worse than a convert. And so she became a Catholic, and she just had her 4th child, which she didn't really want to have, but she had it. And of course, I love the little kid, and she loves it, and she'll raise it. She's not going to be able to afford it, you know. She's not, if he has problems. And since you know who is not funding any of the public education, if he has problems, where's she going to get the money to take care of them? But anyway. The creationists used the argument that all this complexity, this intelligent design argument, could not have come about without some mind to, invent it. I use the same argument to say I don't think that there could be any finite mind that could think of all these things. For instance, the telomeres on the end of the chromosomes, when a cell is dividing, they shorten with every division until you die. They just get shorter and shorter, and then you're gone. Could a mind think of that? One finite mind think of all that? And one, I can't remember his name now, but why would he go to all this trouble? Oh, this intelligent design thing. If a first-year engineering student handed in to me a design like the one that was used for the human spine, I'd give him an F. That is not an intelligent design. Why do you think all the human beings in the world have back problems? I have back problems in the lumbar, mainly because I've got arthritis down the whole length of my spine. I've lost 2 or 3 discs. I started out at 5'6½". Now I'm 5'4". You know, you lose a few discs. Anyway,
so you don't appreciate the design at all.
No. We were meant to go walking around on all fours, you know, and they have such silly arguments. We of course, we freethinkers and all logical people, of course, have this idea that we want to keep church and state separate. The believers want to keep church and reason separate, and they do. And my husband says, why do you argue with them? I am not arguing. I like to talk because they have such ridiculous ideas. And
you know, Mary Lou, I get to ask a few questions.
Oh, do you? Well, go ahead. All right.
I hate to stop you on a roll, but I get to ask a few questions
Well,
now.
you know, I have a very bad case of verbal diarrhea.
Yeah, I know that. I'm depending on it. One of the things we talked about before the show is one of the first questions I ask about becoming an atheist is, did you feel guilty and did you have to give yourself permission? And you thought that was kind of an unusual way of looking at things.
Yeah, why would I feel guilty? I felt free, for one thing. Good. I didn't have to get up early on Sunday morning. You know, it was wonderful. I went to church, you know, when I was a kid until I saw the light. You know, I went to church every Sunday, sometimes on Wednesdays. There was the funniest thing. I grew up in low church. My grandfather was low church. Low church means, you know, you didn't do all this genuflecting. Well, high church Episcopal, you can't tell from Catholic. Of course, my Aunt Dot, she was a good Episcopalian, and she took her brownie troop to an Episcopal church. Well, it was high church Episcopal. And one of the little girls apparently had heard some bad tales about the Catholic, because she kept saying to her, are you sure it isn't Catholic? Because, you know, they cross themselves and they genuflect and everything.
Well, I was raised Episcopalian.
Oh, you were?
Oh, yes.
You admit it?
Oh, yeah. And mostly fairly high church.
Yeah.
My atheism took a little sooner, sometime in high school.
Yeah.
But during high school, I went to young churchman's camp up in Lake Tahoe every summer. I can't imagine this of you, but have you ever been a closet atheist?
Oh, yes, for a long time.
Oh, okay.
For a long time I was, because you know how Christians show their brotherly love to atheists. And
yeah.
I had a cat who was an inside-outside cat. And cats seem to be a really nice target for people who hate atheists. I did have a little black cat, and her name was Nietzsche. Well, actually, you pronounce... Nietzsche is supposed to be pronounced Nietzsche, but when you have a cat, you have to have an E sound on the end. Anyway, my husband and I were both going to be out of town. I was going to a conference. Well, I was actually going to the Godless Americans March. And we were both going to be out of town. I said, let's put her in a kennel. And he said, oh, she'll be all right. Well, guess what? Because this was the Halloween weekend, they killed her. They probably tortured her to death. You know how loving Christians are. They love animals. They love their fellow man. Oh, yeah, right. Well, so I was a cause of that. One time, my daughter came home. She was in junior high. She had a friend whose mother was an atheist. My Lord, we almost fell on each other like long-lost sisters. Of course, she moved away.
When you told them, what was the reaction of your friends?
I didn't tell anyone.
And your parents?
I never told them. I think my mother may have suspected.
Okay. When you did become public, when did you become public first?
When I met you guys.
Oh, sorry. Well, why did you decide to go public?
Because I got sick and tired of hiding, and I felt a little safer when I had reinforcements.
I suppose the next question, which is when did you become active for atheism and atheists, is the
You
same
bet,
thing. It's
you
our
bet.
fault.
Yeah, it's your fault. You loosed me onto the population. That's it. You did it.
Have you or your children ever been threatened because of your atheism?
No. I have been discriminated against very, very slightly. Like when we went down to protest the National Day of Prayer. I voted for Garza for mayor, not preacher, and you can bet that taxpayer funds went for that fancy sound system and all that. Here we are, Sally and I, standing one row away from the front of the congregation. And
this is on the courthouse steps.
Right.
On
Now,
National Day of Prayer.
you know, and these Christians are always moaning about how we are infringing on their religious freedom. They can pray anywhere they want. They can even pray on the steps of the courthouse as long as they don't use taxpayer funds to do it and as long as they don't involve the government in doing it. But, so, anyway, so there we are with our little sign saying keep church and state separate. And this lady said to us, you should go stand in the back of the crowd. Shades have moved to the back of the bus. Of course, that's not as bad as the blacks and the Hispanics have been discriminated against, but same deal.
Yeah, these ladies are a lot gutsier than I am.
Oh, men are chicken. It's amazing the human race has survived this long. If it weren't for their sperm, we could do without them. Well, they are fun sometimes. Chicken.
How do you feel about religion in general?
Oh, man. Religion, any religion, not just the Christian religion, is the worst thing that has ever happened to the human race and to the other animals and to the planet Earth. Just think, if it hadn't been for religion, well, specifically the Catholic Church, we would be 1,000 years ahead technologically, philosophically, than we are now, and scientifically. And if it weren't for Islam, we'd be way behind scientifically. Have you noticed that most of the stars have Arabic names?
Yes, I know.
The stars in Orion, Rigel, Betelgeuse, Aldebaran, and, no, that's not in Orion, because they kept some of the science alive. This idiocy of astrology, still, they are using the positions of the stars to predict things, and the positions of the stars are different than when astrology was established 3,000 years ago. Oh, man. The only thing that has come out of religion that is nice is the art and architecture and some of the religion. I still enjoy Ave Maria by Schubert. That is beautiful. And Kaddish by Leonard Bernstein is a beautiful, beautiful piece. I wonder how many Catholics would really appreciate the Sistine Chapel ceiling if they knew Michelangelo was homosexual. By the way, homosexual is not a choice. Do you think anybody would choose to be homosexual when most of the people in the United States hate and revile and even kill homosexuals? You don't choose it. You're born that way. I was born straight. I mean, that was not my choice, but that's it. Well, I didn't really want to be female, but I like it now. And like I say, we are superior. Well, we endure longer. We're tougher. We're not physically stronger, but we're tougher.
I know. I gotta dodge the ladies in Church of a Husband because they've already worn out one husband. As you get older, they're looking for you.
Yeah. I don't know why.
Now we know your opinion on religion. By the way, the latest word on Michelangelo is he probably had Asperger's syndrome too.
I don't know what that is.
That's the mild version of autism.
Oh, really?
The fully functional version of autism.
Yeah. I've got so many diseases. Well, actually, the main thing is I have arthritis. Arthritis is an umbrella for a whole bunch of diseases, and I've got symptoms of a whole bunch of them. And I have a new disease I didn't even know of before. Wonderful.
Well, normally on my atheist interview, I don't include a complete list of diseases.
It's a good thing because I'm getting to be the typical old lady. I got a whole bunch of them. You wouldn't believe. Oh, wait a minute. Wait. I have to show you this. I can't help it. My grandson drew this picture when he was 7 years old.
All right.
He has inherited my artistic ability. I did this shirt.
All right.
All right. There you go. That's the grandmother bit.
Well, moving an inch along, how do you feel about Christians in general?
Oh, man. I'll tell you what. Now, if Christians actually, acted like Christians, it would be nice. If they really loved their fellow man, if they really hated the sin and loved the sinner, it would be okay. I know a Christian. She's a very, very good Catholic, and she actually realizes what Christianity is. She says the religion is man-made. It's not God-made, and this is the truth. When she comes to realize that God is also man-made, she'll be home free. But this is it. Religion was invented by primitive people to explain things that they did not understand. Now we understand a heck of a lot of these things. Why do we cling to this stuff? It's like the little baby with his security blanket. We're hanging on to it. And like Paul Kurtz says in his Transcendental Temptation, this book he wrote, people seem to have this need for some kind of authority to appeal to protect them, somebody that is watching out for them. And it would be nice, I said this to my daughter sometimes, it would be nice to think that there was somebody out there who's watching out for you. And but there's not, and you've got to do it. And why do we need to be saved? Saved from what? And why do we have to be born again? I was born right the first time. You know, my mother did a good job.
Well, except for the spine.
Well, that wasn't her fault. That was evolution. She did the best she could.
Well, I hesitate to ask at this point, he said, and you know where we're headed. How do you feel about born-again proselytizing right-wing Christians in general?
I don't understand. Now, this is it. Evangelical Christians and fundamentalist Christians think that because they want everybody to be like them, atheists want everybody to be atheists. Now, I admit it would be nice, but it's none of my business. Why do they want to force their beliefs onto me? And it isn't religion, it's power. They want to be able to tell everybody else what to do. Now, this is very petty. Because of their stupid blue laws, I can't buy beer or alcohol before noon on Sunday. Do they think that the drunk, because he can't buy beer before noon, is going to go to church? Heck no. He's going to stay in bed till noon and then get up and buy his beer, or else buy it the night before. That is stupid. It's just power. It's rather, like I say, this is the bringer of light. Lucifer, the bringer of light, the bringer of knowledge. If anyone has read Mark Twain's Letters from the Earth, Lucifer goes down to find out what man has been doing since God created him. And he writes back, he says, these people down here, most of whom can't carry a tune in a bucket, think they're going to go to heaven and play a harp and sing for eternity. Most of them can't play a musical instrument either. And the one thing that they value above everything else here on earth, they aren't going to have in heaven. They're not going to have sex. You know, the Muslims have got it right. At least they're going to have 72 virgins, which sounds like a negotiated number. You know, somebody said 100, somebody said 50.
Well, there could be a mistranslation or misunderstanding.
Oh, yeah, right.
It could be 72 white raisins. No, honest. It could be.
Well, you know, there is a mistranslation from the Hebrew. Did you know Michelangelo's statue of Moses? Those two little horns on his head?
Yeah.
And this is great. When we went to the Supreme Court building in Washington, D.C., in the courtroom there's a frieze around the top of the ceiling of the lawgivers through history. And, of course, one of them is Moses, and he has horns. And the person who was giving the lecture wondered about that, and I tried to get her attention, but she wouldn't pay attention, so I said it out loud. And it's because they mistranslated from the Hebrew the word for light. It was supposed to be light, you know, for halo. And so they put horns on Moses. Michelangelo put horns on Moses, which is another symbol for cold, you know. So that's why. Moses didn't really have horns. He had a halo. And this is interesting, though. The Old Testament, of course, a lot of it is history. You get archaeological evidence for a lot of these things, like the town of Jericho, for a lot of the battles. There is no archaeological evidence for a lot of these things that happened with Joseph. I have even heard a rumor that the town of Galilee did not exist when Jesus was supposed to have lived. I cannot find it, because every time I look up the town of Galilee, the only definition of it is the town where Jesus grew up. So,
are you thinking of Nazareth?
I mean Nazareth, sorry. Of course, Nazarene was a word for a young Jewish man at that time anyway. Also, in that time, young Jewish men did not wear beards. And for a long time, in the beginning of Christianity, they depicted Jesus without a beard. But then beards came into fashion, so Jesus had a beard.
In the case of Nazareth, the word is that it's a place that the only thing that ever happened, its entire history, was Jesus got raised there. It was like a one-horse.
Yeah.
And with the Jews, since they didn't do horses, maybe not that, maybe one cow.
Oh, speaking of one-horses, my dad told me this joke.
Oh, God. Here we go.
I have to tell a joke. You know, when I met, the first time ever aware of Hugh, he stepped on a punchline of mine. I always tell a joke, and he stepped on my punchline, and I hated him right off. I've never let him forget. Of course, now I'm crazy about him, but anyway. My dad told me this joke, and it was an old joke when he told it. And this guy's taking his girl out on the days of the horse and buggy, and they're sitting there in the evening looking at the moon and stars. And the horse decides to take a leak, and the guy's terribly embarrassed, you know. And so he thinks he'll distract the girl, and he says, "Look, there's the Big Dipper." And she says, "Do you think it'll hold it all?"
Maybe I better get back to my interview in a hurry.
I promised I wouldn't tell any really dirty jokes.
All right.
There are no dirty jokes. The dirt is in the mind of the listener.
How's it been for your children in school?
It's been fine. It's been fine. I tell you, one time the teacher had the kids bring a baby picture, and she would hold up the baby picture, and the other kids had to try to guess which kid it was. They guessed my daughter right away. She was the only Anglo in class. And then it was fine. Of course, she wasn't anything there one way or the other. She was a budding veterinarian, though. She found us that somebody dumped a kitten at the school. She brought it inside. Teacher said, "Go get it some milk." Amy said, "It'll give the cat diarrhea." Teacher said, "Get it milk." The kitten had diarrhea all over the teacher's embroidered pillows. That would teach the teacher.
How's it been with your friends who are not atheists? Or aren't there any left?
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. I am loved by a whole lot of people who know what I am. Our very best. You know how people who are prejudiced will say, "Oh, some of my best friends are black or Hispanic." Well, our very best friends are Hispanic. Our very best friend, Jesse Cabrera, you know, he's a very good Catholic. He's even a better Catholic now since he had bypass surgery. And it's very funny. Karen Rodriguez, she's more than 3/4 Native American, you know. So she looks very Hispanic, but she doesn't speak much Spanish. But one time she was talking about her ancestors' religion, of course, being Native American. And she said, but of course, their religion was superstition. And I couldn't help myself. I said, all religion is superstition. These people, they can't see beyond. They have, you know, most people, and even scientists who are religious do this. You have the compartmentalization thing, you know. You keep your religion and your reason separate, and never the twain shall meet.
Well, that's not always true. Remember, Einstein was thundering again and again that God does not play dice with the universe.
Now, he may have been using that as a metaphor. He may not have.
Not him.
Really?
Not him.
Yeah,
he was on very good terms with God and his universe, and he knew it couldn't be put together in a way that Einstein didn't think it should be.
Well, this is another thing about this business, about how they say that this could not have been created except by an intelligent being. It's Occam's razor. You know, the theory of parsimony. When you have several explanations for something, usually the simplest one is the one you should use. And when you get back to where, you know, it could have been by accident, and they say nothing happens by accident. Every person alive is by accident. I mean, that particular sperm and that particular egg got together is pure accident. But of course, if you want to believe in a God, I mean, I can't believe that any intelligent being who created the whole universe is sitting there saying, "Okay, you sperm here, you get over to this egg here. Let's make this particular human being." I mean, that's asinine. And when something really, really wonderful happens, thank you, God. When something horrible happens, man, that was the devil, you know. But it's all part of God's plan. And then talk about arrogance. Oh, God, please, please, let us win this football game. I mean, if there is a God and he's in charge of the whole universe, do you think he gives a damn about one particular football game?
Yes, the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, that we should pay the Dallas Cowboys to come here. They should pay us to use our facilities. Oh, my Lord. And San Antonio whines about being a world-class city, you know, as long as they care more about the Spurs or any sport and the PGA than they care about the symphony, the art museums, the botanical gardens. They're always going to be a redneck, second-class provincial town.
I would have called it a burrito and hamburger stop for Mexican truck drivers on their way to Dallas.
Right. And
that's what they're working on.
That sure is, yep.
Well, that's probably going to get us in a lot of trouble.
Well, I really don't care, right? I've already admitted
I never would have suspected that of you.
Yeah, well, I'm 66 now, you know, I don't have far to go. What?
Well, since I'm running out of questions, let's go on to one that I use. What do you think happens after your death?
I'm dead. That's it. I'm gone. I would like to be cremated, but the thing is, after I'm gone, it doesn't matter to me. Now, my daughter's a good Catholic. Now, she's a really good Catholic. And the thing is, people who are religious, and now this is particularly true of Christians, if there's something they want to do, now, I don't think this is true of my daughter and a lot of her friends, But if there's something they want to do, and it's against their religion, well, to hell with the religion. They do it anyway. But if she wants to have a rosary, which I think is the most boring thing in the world, go ahead. It's fine with me. I'm not going to be there. I don't care. If she wants to pay a hell of a lot of money for a casket and put me in the ground, take up space, that could be used for growing grass for a cow, I don't care. I'm not going to be there. I'm going to be gone. I would make a fairly good fertilizer, I guess. I don't know. There's some protein. There'll be some protein left, I guess. I don't care. You're gone. You're gone. You're not going. Why should people care what happens to them? I had a friend who was from Switzerland, and he was a hairdresser and a beautician. He said he worked for a mortician for a while, and he said they used to take out the brain and stuff the cavity with old love magazines. He said so that people could enjoy it after they were dead. And he said that you didn't want to donate your body to science because you would feel them cutting it up. I mean, when the brain's dead and gone, there are no no nerves. You can't feel anything. Speaking of nerves, you can't feel things. Your brain feels no pain. It has no sensory nerves inside the brain, so you don't feel pain in your brain. What you feel in the headache is pressure against the outside of the brain. So when you're dead, you're dead. Ah, yeah, that poem by Robert. There is a poet. If you want to read a really great poet, it's Robert Service, The Cremation of Sam McGee.
Yeah, we were talking about that before the show.
Oh, that is wonderful. And it's based on a true incident. A lot of Robert Service's poems are based on true incidents, like the shooting of Dan McGrew and the cremation. And one of his greatest poems that my son, who was an elementary school teacher, used to use on that competition, I can't remember, YEL or something like that, is The March of the Dead, about the people coming back from the war in South Africa, and how everybody's excited and wonderful, wonderful coming back from the war, but the dead were coming back too. That's a great poem. I always cry when I read it.
Wow, I've never read that one.
Well, be prepared to cry. I still cry when Bambi's mother gets shot. I cry easily.
Why? She had Lyme disease.
Oh. So many women use tears as a weapon, tears to get things they want. I don't do that. I don't do much things that women do. Like, for one thing, I don't go to a beautician and get my hair done. Why? I mean, who cares? Isn't it? My husband's bald, and we were at a party one time with our friend Barbara, who went gray very early, either late 20s or early 30s. She was complaining about having gray hair. Ralph says, it's hair. Who cares what color it is? And so you're dead, you're gone. It was really interesting. We got 1 minute, I think. What Woody Allen says, some people want to be remembered through their works, their good works. Others want to be remembered through their children, the ancestors. I want to be remembered and be immortal by not dying.
He also said, I don't mind dying, I just don't want to be there when it happens.
I would like to know when I'm dying. I want to be awake and alive and know, because it's the last thing I'm going to do.
Yeah, and you'll be in the middle of the joke, and you better be able to get to the punchline, or you're going to be really upset.
They had given me a sedative for an operation, and I started to tell a joke, and I finished it. Nobody stops me for telling a joke.
Well, thank you very much, Mary Lou. We have run out of time for all of your wonderful stories.
Dang it. Boy, you have to have me back again.
All right. This has been Hugh Henry for Freethought Forum, interviewing Mary Louise Thompson on how she became an atheist. Thank you very much. And good night.
I think as I please, and this gives me pleasure.
My conscience decrees, this right I must treasure.
My thoughts will not cater
To duke or dictator, no person can deny. Decadunk and sin